Last week, I spoke about overwhelm in your small business. Do you feel like there's never enough time in a day to complete all the tasks on your to do list? In that episode, you'll get some great tips to help both you and your small business. Now, in this week's episode, I'll be interviewing Lisa from Sweet and Sassy Treasures. And you may know Lisa from her lives and workshops she hosts, where she showcases her creativity with some absolutely amazing projects. I'm so excited to get this interview started.
Welcome to the Rescued and Upcycled podcast with weekly inspiration, tips on trying new techniques, and overall real talk about owning your own DIY business. Now here's your host, Sonnet Ullenbrock.
Welcome back to Rescued and Upcycled. I'm your host, Sonnet Ullenbrock. I want to thank you all for joining me on my podcast today. If you are new here, I love to interview creatives and other small business owners every other week, and then just love talking about all things business. I'm really hoping that I've been inspiring you along with my guest hosts. Now, in today's episode, I will be interviewing Lisa, like I said, from Sweet and Sassy Treasures. And I first discovered Lisa while I was supporting a fellow creative whose business was closing. And Lisa was out there helping auctioning off all the items in her shop. And she was so sweet. And so I just hopped on over to her channel to check her page out and just saw how completely creative she was. And I just had to start following her. So I am super excited to get the interview started today. So let's go ahead and welcome Lisa on. Hello, hello.
Hi, how are you? Thank you.
Yes, I'm so excited you're here today and joining me on the podcast. So thanks so much for joining. For my viewers and listeners, who haven't had the opportunity to have found you yet, tell us just a little bit about yourself.
So I am the mother of 3, and I have 3 granddaughters as well. I love everything DIY, have been creating for the most part of my life. Most people are surprised to find out that I actually am a retired high school math teacher because, yes,
Yeah.
because it's the other side of the brain, right?
Right.
So I think I'm just middle brained, but art and creativity has so much math and symmetry in it that I think that they go really well together. I started my business probably about 7 years ago, my official business, right when I retired. So it's been wonderful. It's been challenging and wonderful, both at the same time.
It sounds like it. Wow. I guess I didn't realize that your business is only 7 years old.
Yep.
And okay, so you retired 7 years ago. And how did you decide, like, I'm retiring from being a math teacher and I'm just going to start this small business? Like, how did you decide where to start?
It organically happened, I guess. So when the furniture painting craze started, I was actually getting my hair done. And
Okay.
the person talking, I was like waiting, and the person talking to my hairdresser was like, I went and I took this class, and you bring in a piece of furniture and you paint it and you leave with it painted. And I'm like, that sounds like fun. I want to do that.
Right.
So I signed up for that. And I tend to just jump in with both feet no matter what I do. There's no easing into anything. So I think it was about a year and a half. I was still teaching and just, putzing. There were times I could not walk through my garage because of furniture, but, putzing around with it. And when it came around to retiring, a friend of mine said, "Hey, I drove by this for rent sign on a major street." And so it was subleasing from a marble and granite store. And
Okay.
I talked to my husband and I'm like, yeah, I don't know that I want to do that. I'm having fun playing. And it's like, I'm just going to go check it out. Well, how that goes. So then
Mhm.
it just it started and I was just the funny thing is, and I don't care how much life experience we have and how old we are, we fall into these grandiose ideas. Like you open up a business and you turn on the open sign at 10 a.m. and everyone's just going to walk through the door, you
Right.
know? So
Yeah.
that was a bit, of a learning curve, but I've never regretted it. And things were put into my lap at the right time. Sometimes I don't know, why, but I'm very grateful that they did. Well, that's my
Awesome.
story.
Okay. So, do you still have a storefront?
It was, you know, the pandemic took us all by surprise. And
Yes.
so I think all the closures started like mid-March. For some reason, that January, after I had said a million times, I do not want to be in the shipping business. I want to create. And so that January, I'm like, I think I want to ship. So I started shipping in January, and then we had the shutdown in March, and it was like the perfect scenario. And um, so that got to be such a large part of my business that here I was retired. And so I was going into the store, I think I was open between 20 and 30 hours a week and had the online business too. And it was like something had to give. So while
Right.
I was really going to miss the people, and I still do, I closed that down 2.5 years ago. So
Okay.
now I'm just online.
Okay. No, I completely understand. I, for 3 years, had a storefront myself, and it's a lot of work and a lot of
Yes.
dedication. It takes a lot of time away from creating, actually, and like helping, grow your business in other ways. So, again, I loved, or I missed, the interaction with people and like the chatting, but now I have YouTube and I do lives, and it's kind of like I have my people back. So,
Yes.
um yes. So as a math teacher, for many, many years, did you ever in the back of your mind think, gosh, someday I want to own a small business? Like, did that ever cross your mind?
So it was kind of funny that the store that I took the furniture painting class at, I would go in all the time and I would get my supplies and look around, and it was totally my happy place.
Yeah.
And so I was chatting with the girl that always waited on me, and I heard somebody say to her, and it's kind of funny, we laugh about it now, like, "Where did you go to high school?" And she said, "Oh, I went to Stevenson." And I'm thinking, well, I went to Stevenson. And so I'm looking at her and I'm like, she looks so familiar. And I said, so what was your maiden name? So we grew up in the same subdivision. We were a year apart. We weren't friends, but I knew her. We would say hi and things like that. So we would joke when I would come in, and I would be like, when I retire, I'll open up a business and you can come and work for me. And another like totally ironic thing, that business closed the February before I opened mine, which
Oh,
opened the door for Pam to be able to come and work for me. So that was another reason when I went and explored, I think it was in April, I made the decision to open up my store. And so I already knew Pam was available. And she is like a godsend. She is usually a step ahead of me.
hmm.
It's just like I could not do it without her. There's just
Oh,
no way.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's very awesome because I'm at the point where I need help, and it's been very difficult to find somebody. So
Mhm.
you are very blessed to have Pam.
I am. I am
Yeah.
very blessed, yes.
Yeah. So once you started your business, how did you decide on your name?
I decided on my name long before. I went into business, and it's so funny because I remember I was driving. I do my best thinking either driving or in the shower. I don't know, I'm not sure what the two have in common. But and I was like, wow, what would I call myself? Because I already knew I had already started painting furniture. And I was like, well, maybe I could sell it because selling it feeds the habit. Otherwise,
Mhm.
what are you going to do with all the stuff? And so I
Right.
was like, I'm a Gemini. So I was born the end of May, May 24th, and Gemini's the twins. And I totally have that personality as much as I hate to admit it. So, I can be sweet, but I can be sassy. And so it was just an inward look at myself. And then it was like the treasures part I already had, because treasures was like, I think that anytime we create anything, it holds a special place in our heart. Whether it's one of those things that you call like, oh, that didn't quite go the way I wanted, or, a failure, they still hold a special place in your heart.
Right.
I'm sure you've experienced those things that like you have a hard time parting with. You
Oh, I
can't keep
do.
everything. Yeah. So that's where the treasures came from. So
Oh,
yeah,
I love it. I love it.
it's
Gosh, you're
hard
a lot of
to.
stuff you're saying is like hitting home, girl. Like, yeah, I want to keep everything. And my daughter has to say, Mom, you can't keep everything.
I know.
So, what I sometimes do, like when I take something I flip and I really, really love it, I hold on to it for just a moment and then I
Mhm.
let it go. So, I give it to somebody else. But yes, because I can't keep everything.
And then don't you think there's that the other reason, like I'm very much addicted to the creative process, pushing my limits, thinking outside the box. But then there's the joy of someone else appreciating it and liking it enough to actually buy it. Like
Right.
that's the full circle moment, I think. I think that's
Mhm.
pretty cool.
I know. I agree completely. And it makes me and so I had every May I do a vendor event and people come from all over to like see me there and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I saw you create this." Like
Mhm.
it just and like, "Oh my gosh, I loved when you made this." And or what, like cuz they follow along as I prep for my event and many of them like walk away with a piece of something that I've created or upcycled. So yeah, it makes me very, very happy, so I completely agree.
It is.
So
I think everyone wants a piece of the story. And I
mhm.
think it goes back to kind of what you said in the beginning. We gave up that organic customer walking through the door or the return customer that, like, now I have good friends that I met, through the business. And it's like it just brings it full circle for me. I don't know. It's really great.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Um, I know and I love it. Like I said, I love it when I get to meet the people and I've made so many friends too. And some of my like some of okay, I call them my customers, but my viewers too, they've become like I feel like they're friends. So yeah, I love it. Um so since you've started your business, what are some of the challenges that you've experienced with owning your small business?
Oh, I think um I think the biggest challenge is always the same challenge. And when I think that I have an answer to it, it keeps creeping back up. So I mean the simplest way is, not enough time to do what you need to do. But more specifically, it's all the hats that you have to wear, which I know you experience it too. It's
Oh
how
yeah.
do you everything is connected. And so if you want to create and you want to have these wonderful people in your life still that you've made friends with. That I have one that lives in Wales, and another one in Australia, and another one in South Africa. It's like you want to keep them in your life, so you want to keep doing the lives, but then you need the social media maintenance, I call it. I That is my biggest challenge, is the social media maintenance. And so I know that others have hired social media people, and um, I I can't do that. I feel like I need to answer the questions. I need to interact. I mean, that's the point of it for me. So if I
Mhm.
delegate that to somebody, it's for me, it wouldn't work.
Right.
So like I know I should be doing Instagram reels. So I'll be like, okay, I'm going to do one every day, and I've got a second camera going. So if I'm editing that reel, I'm not doing something else that I should be doing. That is a continual challenge. And now with the change with the one social media platform not keeping our lives around, so now you've got to go back in and you've got to back up content, which it's wearing all the hats, right? I think that that's the biggest piece for me, and I don't know that I'll ever have the answer for that.
I agree. It's a lot of juggling, and like you said, wearing all the hats can be really, really difficult, and I think sometimes our viewers or customers don't realize everything we do as a small business owner, like an entrepreneur, so it is
Yes.
hard. And yes, I have heard of others actually hiring like a social media content creator for their business, and I'm like, I have like my own unique style
Yeah.
and like I have a vision, and like I don't even know how I would tell them what to post. Or like
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems
I totally agree with that, and it's like, is another word for that micromanager. That's what I wonder. Am I a micromanager? I know I have a hard time delegating, and I go back to um I would rather do less better than more just okay, if that makes sense. So,
Mhm.
and that's what I just tell myself when I'm like getting hit with all the things. It's like, look, you have to know your limit, because at the end of the day, happiness is what it comes down to. All of this makes us happy, and that's what drives us.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. I know I actually had an employee for a very, very short period of time, and I felt like I had molded her to be a mini me. So
Mm.
she was so good. But she did a lot of the work that I don't really have time to do, like folding papers or packing, like inventory, like all that stuff. And but she started thinking like me, and like I was so good. And then she had a baby, and now she's decided not to come back. And I'm so
Oh,
sad.
no.
I'm so sad. So I'm on the lookout again. But yeah.
I feel like that's like a once or twice in a lifetime fit. My Pam has some serious health issues, and so I know that there's a possibility with her health that she may not be able to or want to come in,
Yeah.
and that's a piece of me. So I just try not to think about it. I'm sure, like, you just ignored the pregnancy. It's like, nope, nope, you're not pregnant. You're not. You're not.
I know. Well, and it was funny because, like, she's like, I'm coming back, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Okay." And then as it neared her delivery date, I kept saying, "Are you sure?" Like, I'm getting, like, vibes. I was literally getting vibes, like, she's gonna wanna be a stay-at-home mom. I could just feel it. It was her first baby. So, No, I want to come back. I love hanging out with you. I'm like, well, I think you probably would love hanging out with your baby a whole lot more than me, you know? But yeah, then she broke the news to me like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, okay.
Oh,
Oh, but it'll be good. It'll be fine and I'll move on and it'll be all good. So, well, let's chat a little bit more. So, you said that even though you were a math teacher for all these years that you always loved art and creating. So was it something you just like dabbled with your whole life? You said that you took that art like that class from Pam. It was from Pam, correct? That you took
it
the
was
class?
from Pam's boss.
Oh, Pam's
Yeah,
boss.
it
Okay.
was a store called Fabulous Finishes, and the owner of it seriously is one of the most talented furniture artists ever, just
Oh,
like
wow.
ever. And she had life situation where um, she had to go into her degree job for her family, so she had to step away from it. But her name's Patty, and just ridiculously talented.
Okay. Oh, how sad for her though that she had to like step away from what she loved. Oh,
Yeah, and was, like, so gifted.
okay. Hmm. So where like when you start creating, where do you find your inspiration?
Pinterest, typically. Um, but I don't it's not deliberate. So when my downtime is at night, so I'm a night owl.
Mhm.
So I'll stop working sometimes at 11, you know?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Well, if it's one of those big order times or whatever.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I know.
And otherwise, it's maybe 9. And so I'll go upstairs because I'm at home. My studio's in my basement. My store is in my basement. It's set up very much like my store was.
Yeah.
And I'll go upstairs and I'll just, look at things through Pinterest. And it's not deliberate, but I have such an analytical brain that when I look at something, like if something interests me, I'll dissect it apart. And I can't remember what I did 30 seconds ago, but I will remember bits and pieces of all of these pins that interested me. And I think
Mhm.
that comes together, you know, or sometimes I'll look at the back of an IOD package and be like inspired by that. But it's typically something I've seen, something I've done.
Mhm.
I don't know that there's totally a unique idea out there. We make it unique, but I think it's always inspired by something that you've seen.
Right. I agree. Yes. I love Pinterest too, and what I do is I like to scroll right before bed actually, and I like look and I start like envisioning like, oh, I like that, or I like that color, and oh, or I like how they layered that, and um, but yeah, I agree. Pinterest is definitely inspirational. So
It is.
I love it. So where do you find all your pieces that you create with then?
Um, I'm not an upcycler,
Okay.
and I no longer flip furniture. I stopped doing that. I don't know, in your part of the country, but in my part of the country, probably about 4 years ago, the price of um, old furniture became so astronomical that the thought of putting your time and resources into it just didn't make sense. And then, too, there's the wear and tear on your body. Even though my husband did all of God bless him, he would go and, do all the heavy lifting, or my son in law or my son, somebody would come and help. Um, but it's really hard on your body. So I unknowingly just kind of switched over to mixed media because that was
Okay.
easy. And I I started accumulating tools. And it's so funny because my family would be like, "Mom, not sure you should have a drill. So during the pandemic, I had a table saw delivered, like a huge table saw. And then, like an air compressor and a nail gun, and I have a scroll saw, and it's hysterical because I no longer fear that stuff. Fire, I still fear. Like I do soldering, and I'll do open torch soldering, and that to me will always be. I have a very healthy respect for fire. That's where I draw the line. But so yeah, it's wood that's laying around. I wish I could be more inspired by thrifted items, but it's never been part of what I built into my business.
Right. Well, that's awesome. I mean, like, I think everyone has a very different direction. And so tell me about the process of you creating then. So do you create with you talked about mixed media, which I love.
Yes.
But do you just use all different types of media? Do you use like wood? Like you talked about a lot of power tools. So do you cut a lot of wood or do you use
I do.
paper?
I
Okay.
cut a lot of wood. I love paper arts. Once a year in October, I always launch a Christmas journal / story. It's the most popular thing that I do all year. And that's definitely my paper, media. But like this last year, I can't ever do anything simple. It's just not in my nature. And if I think of it, it has to happen. So I wanted there to be like a shadow box incorporated in part of this journal. So then I had to find plexiglass and I had to learn how to cut plexiglass because it's not that easy. And then how was I going to, it was just like these things they just happen.
Right.
For 10 years of my career, so my degree is in math and science, but I'm always looking for a challenge. So about 4 years into my teaching career, there was an opportunity to become an activities director, is what we call them around here. And I was very lucky that that was my full-time job. So a high school of like 2,000 kids, and I would do homecoming, prom, graduation. And so that really allowed me to incorporate that creative piece into my teaching because I was still teaching, not math, but teaching. And so all of it, everything in life has just kind of brought me to where I am today. So I am live today at
Right.
4 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock my time right now. And I think I know what I want to do, but I'll just kind of like look around and like one of my rice papers will inspire me, or sometimes it just happens, but I very much like to be planned. So this is, I, I have a plan, but I'm not sure I want to do it, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, I know some days on my lives too, like I am, okay, I'm gonna do this and I have it all planned. And then there were a few days where I was like, I'm just gonna wing it. And I grabbed a bunch of stuff. I'm like, okay, let's play today. And I'm like, on those days I've had a few comments like, oh, you were not as prepared. Well, yeah, it was a wing it day. So and like I even asked, like I polled my audience, like, should I do this or should I do this? Like it was good interaction though,
Yes.
to get them to interact with it. So I have a question though, the plexiglass. So has the price of plexiglass come down since, COVID? You talked about how you had to learn how to
You
cut
know,
plexiglass and find it because it was expensive for a while.
yes. And so I didn't know much, if anything, about plexiglass. So the first thing I did was Google how to cut it, right?
Okay,
Well,
yeah.
they make it sound like really easy, and
Oh,
it's not really easy. So it comes in thicknesses, which of course I assumed, but I needed it to be sturdy enough so that when I put it over this 4x6 section, it didn't bow at all. Sturdy enough to withstand it being closed up in this bigger box too.
Mhm.
So it's like, all right, how am I going to find that thickness? And I just got it at Hobby Lobby. It was a huge sheet, but
Okay.
I think it wasn't bad. So,
Okay.
but then I had to pre-cut it so that everybody had one in their kit. I got good at it by the end.
That's
But
good. That's good.
first few were not pretty, not usable.
I can imagine anytime you're trying something new.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, so you talked about how we were chatting about how I'm hosting my second annual retreat, and you said that you were going to be hosting one of your first retreats,
Yeah.
and it was your very first retreat. So, do you host workshops as well, or no?
I used to when my store was open, I would do at least one a month,
Okay.
sometimes more than that. And the opportunity to let people pick their project, and bring in a group of friends and all of that. Um, so I did do at somebody else's venue around here. They have a antique type store.
Okay.
So I did something in there, but that's hard because like you don't have all your stuff, even though like you think you've got everything. So
Mhm.
this is my year of bucket list items. So that
Ooh.
is on my bucket list. And it's like I'm gonna do that this year and a private group. Now, I do not recommend doing both of those things simultaneously. So it's working and it's going to be great, but like it's a lot to do that to yourself all at once. But
Mhm.
that's what I did.
Yeah. I know I try to I'm like, I'm gonna give advice, but I didn't take it last year. So moving forward, I am trying to do like one big thing a year. Last year I did many big things. I did my very first retreat. I started my own subscription box. I kicked off a podcast. So if you can imagine, I was like, like going crazy.
Yeah,
But
so the same exact thing, right? Ah,
mhm,
if there's one good idea, like why not do all three? Like
right.
why not do that to yourself?
Oh, yes. I know, like, tackling learning something new and, like, incorporating it and, like, just, like, getting used to it, it's so, so hard. So, yeah, I always just recommend one at a time, and I'm gonna try to hold myself to it this year as well. So, but yeah,
We'll see how that goes for me too. That's the promise I'm making myself. So we can hold each other accountable.
right? I know. Every time I wanna try something new, I'm like, "Come on, Sana, just hold back, girl."
Bring it in.
Um Yeah. So let's talk about your retreat a little bit. When is the retreat?
It is May 15th through the 17th. And
Okay.
I don't know about you, but one of the hardest parts was finding a facility to have it.
Mhm.
How many people do you want to have? Like, there's a real lot that goes into it. And
Right.
as I'm creating each project for it, um, I'm writing down all the supplies that I need to provide them, and then the supplies that like the decoupage medium that like that maybe wouldn't be in their kit. Like, yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. So
Mhm.
it's 8:15. It's a Thursday night, a Friday, and a Saturday because I have people coming from out of town. So that gives them Sunday, is a good travel day.
Right. Yes, that's exactly what I did for mine, and it worked perfect. So, but well, good luck because yes, write everything down because like the day of, I'm doing my checklist and what I did is I had plastic totes and I like had all the material in every plastic tote for each project. So it was a lot, but it was good. It worked out
Yeah.
and yeah, it was good. So how many people do you plan on having attend?
Um, I have not. So I launched it,
Mhm.
right? And so in my mind, and I don't know if this is right at all, but in my mind, you'll have the group of people that don't need to see what the projects are that will sign up. So that was my initial signups. And now I've just over the weekend finished my last sample. So now I will advertise it better. My sweet spot is only 12 because I want it to be intimate. And I'm at 10 right now.
Oh,
My max 18 is pushing it. I have space for like 50, 60, but that's not what I want to do. And it will be Pam and I. So this is a chance to interact with people that we've only met through, Facebook or YouTube or so
right.
I want to be able to, meet people, and I'm doing it all. So I'm doing something that I think will be cool, but I'll let you know May 18th.
Okay.
I'm doing 3 projects and 2 stations. So,
Oh.
like, you know how some people get finished faster than others, but some
Mhm.
people they want to spend all the hours on this. So, if you're one of those people that has downtime or you want to make time for it, you can go to the station and make the things that are at the station.
Okay.
So, and I'm hoping that that's a good thing, but we'll see.
Yeah. You'll have to let me know how it
Sure.
goes. Yeah, I kept everybody on a really kind of like a tight schedule, like not a tight schedule, but like everybody, like this is what we're doing. One word of like one feedback that I did get from the group last year was they wanted just a little bit more time for each of the projects. So I'm adding like an additional half hour to the project. So just you always think like you do it, you can get it done in X amount of time, but you forget, like there's a learning curve and that they're learning. And so, yeah, I can't wait to hear how it goes. I'm excited for you.
In
It'll be really
teaching,
fun.
they taught us that, especially like math is such a weird beast because everybody talks about that math gene, and
Mhm.
I like, and they blow it off, but it's true. Um, and then I also think that there could be an experience that turns a student off to math. So whatever that case is, it's hard for me or I'm turned off to it. And then the kid that's going to whiz through it, they're still not going to be as fast as you. So it's allow 2.5 times what it takes you to do something.
Okay.
Or
Th-
no, so that's what I always do. I'm, in the classroom, I
Right.
often, teach up to the bell, which I never meant to, but so we'll see. That's a real concern of
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah.
And dry time, right? Dry
Oh,
time.
yes, yes. We realized that too for, one of the like, how we did it, we used one project for, we showed a technique for one, and then that project was used for another, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, that's gotta dry, it's not gonna be dry
Yeah.
in time," so then we had to, rearrange, so it's a learning curve,
Yes.
so I know. Exactly, dry time. You have to always take that into account, that darn paint
Yep.
has to dry or
Yep.
the decoupage medium or whatever.
Yep.
So, yes. So you do go live, is it once a week or do you go live several times a week and to showcase, your creative edge?
I am live Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And
Okay.
that's always unless I'm on vacation, which I have to say tongue in cheek because I've already done 2 of those and it's only the beginning of March this year. So I went to a jewelry soldering workshop. So that was work, is how I pitch it at home. And
Yeah.
then we went on a cruise and then we're going away the end of March. So my husband's in education still. He's a high school principal. So
Oh,
we travel when the school has a break because that's kind of what we have to do. But otherwise, it's every Tuesday and Wednesday. And then now I added Mondays, I'm live in my private group. Do you have a private group?
I have a membership group
Yeah.
yes. And so we do Zoom calls, like all of us go on a Zoom together is what we do. But yeah.
So that figures into your schedule too. And then you need the other days if you've got a retreat coming up. When's your retreat?
My retreat's in October. So it's October
Oh, that's
2nd
fun.
through the 4th. So
That's really fun. But you have to
it's
start thinking about that too, right? I mean, March isn't too soon.
right. Yeah. No, actually last week I was like, Sonnet, you need to get your act together. Like you need to figure out like the number one thing, like where are we hosting it? And like how you
Yeah.
said it was hard for you to find a place. And so I started calling around and I realized the places that I had initially thought about trying this year were booked. So then I'm like, oh
Mm.
dang. And m- my mom and dad, they're both retired, but my dad still goes back to his where he worked, their Christmas party. And they were just at his old works Christmas party and they hosted it at this it's like a historic bowling alley that is converted into it's so cool. But
That's really cool.
long story short, my mom's like, "You need to check this out. It just like screams like you and like how you I love all things like old and vintage and they took like an old barn and they like redid like the walls with barn board and galvanized, like rusty galvanized. It's perfect.
Aw.
So, I went there and they're like, "Yep, it's available." And I said, "Okay, can you host like this many people?" And, the one thing that I wanted to take off my plate was food. And
Yes.
they said, "Yep, we'll take care of everything." And I'm like, "Where do I sign the dotted line?"
Yeah. And
So,
then you have to kinda I was hesitant, and very cautiously, I'll be using paint,
oh, yes,
like
I
kind of yeah, paint, and then you gotta think about there's gotta be somewhere to wash brushes, and
yeah.
that too. But, so the only thing they told me was no glitter, and I'm thinking I said, "Oh, no, no glitter," and to myself, I said, "Thank God this wasn't a Christmas a
Right.
Christmas tree treat, because
Yeah.
glitter is Christmas's middle name."
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, I asked the same thing. I'm like, "I need a spot where I can clean brushes in between, like the sessions." And
Yeah.
he's like, "Well, right there, but as long as you're not making a huge mess." I'm like, "Oh boy, I have to train my brush washers to not make a huge mess." So,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
yeah, so it worked out perfect. But I'm really excited. I'm going to on Friday. I'm going to start. I'm just finalizing. I actually have creatives come to the retreat, so I'm finalizing the last two creatives, and I wasn't going to put it out there until I had that totally set.
Yeah.
But then last night on my live, I go live every Monday night at 6. They're all like, "No, just put it out there. We don't even care who you have. We're coming anyway." I'm like, "Okay." So I'm just gonna start doing it. So filling her up,
And
but
that's what that
I'm
that's
super excited.
why I said too, that first group, they're gonna come no matter what because they've been watching you, they know your style. And as I've gotten things finished, I've showed my followers, but like I'm 2 months,
Mhm.
just over 2 months out. I need to, like make a graphic. And I was looking at your staging is like amazing. And I struggle with staging so much. My lighting is just not good here.
Oh,
So,
mhm.
yeah, so I have to get all that's on my short to-do list.
Good lighting.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm excited for you. I can't wait to hear how it all turns out.
Thank
So you'll
you.
have to like check in on well, I won't expect it on the 18th, but
Yeah. Yeah.
anyways, so let's chat a little bit. I noticed that you're on YouTube and YouTube has been like huge for my business. So you talked about when, 7 years ago you kicked off your business and like when did you actually join the YouTube journey?
Oh, that's a really good question. Um, I think I thought I did, like at one point, totally not knowing what the expectation was, what you were getting yourself into.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to think how I don't even remember that then. I think actually that channel is even like gone now. But I
Oh, you
went to, like I know that I have one that I accidentally click into sometimes, and I think it was that one.
okay.
So I went to a YouTube video boot camp with Debbie Beard in California. And
Mhm.
that is probably the most valuable workshop I've ever attended. And I've gone to some good ones. I've gone to Jeannie Oliver's art retreats in Colorado, and she's amazing. But like this was just so good. But, that's that thing that's in the back of my head always as to where you're going to prioritize your time. So I make YouTube videos for IOD for a new release. And
Right.
so those are, created specifically for that reason. But for the last at least 3 to 5 months, I've just been going simultaneously live on Facebook and YouTube. But
Mhm.
that's not. I do know that's not the same. So that's something that I got to think about.
Okay.
And I love it, and I know that you can repurpose content. But right now, my priority has to be backing up, all my paid groups, all that live video from
Right.
Facebook has to be backed up right now.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. So, once you back up all your live video on Facebook, what do you plan on are you gonna repurpose it, or what are you planning on doing with that?
Um, so for right now, my priority are my friends who have purchased content from me having perpetual access to it. So those videos will be, I'm just importing them into iMovie to
Okay.
merge them. Then I'm going to upload them to YouTube unlisted so that they
Okay.
have access. I struggle about fairness and respecting the boundaries of people that have put faith in me. So if you have purchased content from me, I don't feel that anybody else should get that content for free. So
Right.
I won't repurpose any of that. If I were to repurpose anything, it would be my live content and make them actual YouTube videos. But I don't know that that's how I want to spend my time either. So
Right.
that's still just a super big question mark for me. But I think that the writing is on the wall. And if we don't read it, shame on us that if you're not a presence on YouTube, that might be your only option in the near future.
Mhm.
So, that's a pivot that I think small businesses need to consider for
Right.
sure.
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%. YouTube was like a major game changer for my small business. It really has helped it, and I love it. I am consistent with it, and I think out of like now it's going on 4 years that I've been on YouTube, and I think I can honestly say that I've only missed it maybe like a handful, like I can probably count on my fingers like of videos that I didn't post. I was actually doing 2 posts a week or 2 videos a week, and I'm down to
Wow.
1. I just decided that with everything going on and there it was just too much. I was spending so much time taping, editing, uploading. I was dedicating a lot of time there, and I've just decided to pull back a hair, but I love it and I think it's a great platform. So,
It
yes.
absolutely is. And that's, it's always in the back of my mind. But like, so you can't do all the things. You can't. That's not
No,
humanly possible. So you've
it is
got
not.
to pick and choose what works for you. And that piece, the social media piece, I've just relied on Facebook. And
Yeah.
so I do have my toe in the water with other things. But this year, once I get through the retreat, I'll really be able to make, some
Yeah.
significant, meaningful change.
Absolutely. I love it. I have my toe in the water.
I know.
I love it. That is a great saying. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so yeah, I think just you're doing like I think that's awesome. Like you're going live consistently on Facebook and a lot of people really gravitate towards one platform. So
Yes.
um I started on YouTube, I went over to Facebook and now, like I'm on both now and then I've jumped over to Instagram as well and I'm still trying to figure that beast out. But
And
anyway.
that's probably so different because that's short content, for the most part. And I think
Mhm.
that that's, I get it. I get that people don't necessarily want to spend an hour and 15 minutes watching something. So short content is very beneficial, but
Right.
it's very hard to retrain yourself once you've done things a certain way. That's at least what I'm experiencing now.
Mhm. Oh, yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So, yes. So, looking now, so I just love how you seem to like constant or continuously pivot as, like a good small business owner does, what, like where the wind takes you, right? So I love it.
Yeah.
So where can, all my viewers find you? You said that you're on Facebook and then you do have your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Are you on any? You said you're dipping your toe in other platforms. What platforms are those?
Well, that just means the Instagram. I was really good for about 4 weeks taking my lives and making reels.
Oh,
Um, and it is definitely, did I see results from that? Absolutely. But then made the decision to do the membership group and the retreat and um, you know, something's got to give. So I
oh,
haven't done reels, but I do post pictures always to Instagram. When I post Facebook, I post to Instagram. Um, so yeah, everything is all Sweet and Sassy Treasures. So my Facebook is facebook.com/Sweet and Sassy Treasures, and so is my YouTube.
awesome. Well,
Oh,
good.
thank you.
Yes. Well, I have enjoyed this conversation today. I've definitely gotten to know you better. And I am so excited that my viewers had the opportunity to meet you and just see how truly talented you are. I'm sure they're going to go out and check out your Facebook page, and maybe some of them will actually, will attend your retreat that you're hosting.
Thank you
So
so much.
yes. So, again, I just want to thank you so much for being on the podcast. Now, you guys, in next week's episode, I am going to be talking about my second annual Vintage Soul Creative Retreat. I kind of dabbled on it today a little bit, but next week, we are going to really dive in. So, last year was amazing. And if you didn't get a chance to attend, then this is your year. We're going to talk about the new location, what to expect at the event, and why you don't want to miss it. Mark your calendar for next week's episode. If you are listening on any of the podcast platforms, do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you guys don't miss out on an episode. If you're watching this over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notification, and let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments. You can also find me over on Instagram and Facebook at Sonnets Garden Blooms, where I post a whole lot more content on the daily. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and we will see you next week. Bye.